Shalom Aleichem for Shabbat B'Shalach. The Mishnah Yomi is learning chapter 7 in Ketuvot, Mishnayot 6 and 7. Ve'elu, and these, Yotzot Shalo B'Ketuvah. These women go out of their marriage without a Ketuvah. Up to this point, we're dealing with neder, vow-initiated problems that created tension in the marriage, or actually might have been a sign of pre-existing tension in the marriage, and as a result, there could be, under certain circumstances, a divorce, and she receives her ketuvah. But the problems we're listing in Mishnah Vav are actually make the woman involved forfeit her ketuvah payment. And the Mishnah explains, Ha'overet al dat Moshe v'Yehudit. She transgresses the law of Moses, meaning the Bible, the Torah, biblical law, or Yehudit. Yehudit is just, it's a name, it's a beautiful name, Judith in English, Yehudit, but it also means Jewish women generally. She goes against the custom of what normal Jewish women are supposed to do. The Mishnah explains, Ezohi dat Moshe, what do we mean by a biblical transgression? Machiloto she'eno me'usar. For example, she feeds her husband produce, food that's not tithed. She makes him a sandwich, and that bread had not have meiser and truma taken. And the husband finds out, maybe she claimed that the shopkeeper had done the tithing, and he goes into the shop and he says, I never did the tithing. And he adds, and she knew I didn't do the tithing, and she's claiming it was tithed. So that's, it's a biblical prohibition to eat untithed produce, as we've discussed in other Mishnayot and Zeraim. So she's basically feeding him something, aser. Shamashto nida, or they have intimate relations while she's a nida. She claims she had gone to the mikveh, and then he finds out, guess what? She did not go to the mikveh as claimed. V'lo kotza lochola, or she does not separate challah from her bread. Now, we usually call, on Shabbos, we call bread challah. Challah is actually the part we take out and give to Kohanim. In modern times, if we're baking a large enough dough, we separate a small part and actually burn that because of tuma, of ritual contamination. We can't give it to Kohanim because it has to be eaten tahor, in purity. V'noderet ve'ena mekayemet, or she makes nedarim and does not fulfill them. Now, being over your neder, not fulfilling your religious vow, is a biblical prohibition. The Gemara also says that going against one's vow can bring punishment to even, God forbid, the children. So she's putting his children at risk also. So these are biblical level problems. Ve'ezahu dat Yehudit. And what is an Isser where the woman is going against the accepted custom of Jewish women? Yotza v'rosha prua. She goes out with her hair uncovered. Now, the Mefarshim say that really a head covering for a married woman is a biblical requirement. We're going to learn that out in Sota, the Isha Sota, as part of the process. She's getting embarrassed, humiliated as part of her testing process, and they uncover her hair, meaning a Jewish woman normally has her hair covered. But there's covered and then there's covered. So it could be that a more minimal covering satisfies the biblical requirements. But then in this particular community, the custom has become to have more hair covered. Betova bashuk, or she's spinning threads in the marketplace. There could be some arms exposed, too much exposure during the motion. Umidaberet im koladam, and she speaks with anyone, even people of ill repute. She's chatting with everyone, maybe even flirting, God forbid. Rabbi Tarfon omer afa kolani. Rabbi Tarfon says even a kolanit. Aizahi kolanit, and what is a kolanit? Lashon kol means voice. L'kishehi medaberet b'toch beito, and she's talking in her own house. Shcheneha shomin kola. The neighbors hear her voice. So Gemara explains, even if they're talking about things that should be kept private between a husband and a wife, she might be raising her voice or speaking too loudly, and the neighbors could find out. It's a breach of modesty. Let's go on to Mishnah Zion. HaMekodesh et Isha, a man marries a wife. Now, Mekodesh, again, is the first stage of Jewish marriage. Al menat, on condition she'ein aleha nedarim. She has no vows applying to her right now. Nimsu aleha nedarim. Turns out she had made vows. Eina mikudeshet. It's not that they need a divorce, it's that they were never married, because the marriage, again, was on condition she did not have vows. Knosa stam, if the man married the woman stam, meaning without any condition stipulated, nimsu aleha nedarim, and then they got married, mazel tov, but she has vows that apply to her, that restrict her, teisei shelo b'ketuvah. They can end the marriage and she would not necessarily receive the ketuvah. Because regularly, typically, any husband doesn't want to marry a wife who has restrictions on her, afflictions on her that he now has to deal with. And since they're now fully married, because he didn't specify the condition at the time of engagement, they would need to be divorced if they don't want to continue, or she doesn't want to find a heter to release her from these vows. Now, this brings the case, almanat she'ein ba mumin. If he says, I'm marrying her on condition that she doesn't have any physical blemishes, nimsu ba mumin, it turns out she does, eina mikudeshes. It was never a Kiddushin, they're not married, she doesn't need a get. Knasa stam, if he married her without making the stipulation, nimsu ba mumin, and it turns out she had physical blemishes, teitse shelo b'Ketuvah, because the husband again can claim, I never would have gotten married had I known she had these disfigurations, these issues. Kol mumin posin b'kahonim, posin b'nashim, and the Mishnah explains, the mumin we're talking about, these blemishes or, disfigurements or missing limbs or something, they're the same ones that would disqualify a kohen, a priest, from serving in the temple. So they could be, fairly severe issues or, certain issues that the Torah stipulates, that since the Torah is makbid, the Torah is particular, kohanim shouldn't serve like this, then men also are particular, their wives should not have such things, unless, of course, they knew about it and accepted it from the beginning. Yashar Kochachem, good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom.